Welcome to the Sprig podcast, your source for the most relevant topics in pediatric dentistry. I'm your host, Dr. Jarod Johnson. Today on the show, we have Carrie Wucinich. She is a registered dental hygienist, and she has recently authored a children's book, which is outstanding. If you haven't picked that up, you can do so on Amazon. She practices currently in Las Vegas and graduated from the College of Southern Nevada, and we'd like to welcome her on the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
And today we wanted to talk about a few different topics. The first one we wanted to highlight was a way to give back. And I think, just talking to Carrie here briefly before our discussion, she has a lot of things she's doing within her community and her practice that she is doing to give back to society, not just kids, but adults too. And she's been on a few mission trips, and I've been on one myself. Where have you gone on some mission trips, Carrie?
So I had the opportunity to go to Montana, which was really cold in the middle of winter. I went out on an Indian reservation and worked with a Head Start program with Crystal Sprig. She's a hygienist that is helping kids out there. So I got to go out there and read my book. And then I also went to Houston, Texas. And with the help of you guys were amazing to help sponsor the kids and get them each a book. So that was another awesome experience. And that was with another hygienist, Amber Lovato. So it's been really cool to kind of, team up with people in our industry together and make a huge difference in the lives of these little kids.
Yeah, I think it's interesting here that you think, honestly, when I think of a mission trip, you think of people going, to overseas, going different countries, but we still do have a huge need for kids in our society. How did you learn about the ones here in the United States? Because I think that's a little more accessible than taking a whole week off your office to go.
Yes. And that is one thing that through this journey, I have realized that there is such a huge need just in our own communities to help educate these little kids, and it's everywhere. So, honestly, it's just been through my journey. I've just met hygienists all over the country who are helping kids in their own ways and have asked me to come be a part of that. So now that I've learned what a need we do have in the United States, I've totally made it a mission to get my books in the hands of little kids who might not have access to dental care. Some of them don't have parents to tell them and help educate them on how to brush their teeth. And it's really important that we get out in our community and help educate these kids. So one thing that I highly recommend is grabbing my book and calling a Title I school in your area and say, hey, can I come out and read and educate kids on dental health? And most of the time, the teachers are beyond grateful because they're the ones that are having to do it. And it's really a cool opportunity for even, say, your office. You could grab your whole office and make it, a day out of it and spend time with the kids and help teach them, because they can ultimately take that home with them and they can teach their siblings. So we're creating a place where we're trying to get them super young and educate them. So we're setting them up for success. And I'm sure you've seen it in your office. I've worked in pediatric dental offices. I've seen some of the cases coming in. And you know what? Some of the parents, it's not so much their fault either because they weren't educated. So it's this cycle that keeps on going until we break it. So if we have those opportunities, we should jump on it and just start small. You don't have to go to another country. You could call the schools in your area and say, hey, can I come and work with your kids? And the teachers will most likely say, absolutely.
And I think you're hitting on another good point is to come to our office to get educated, you have to be aware of the problem.
100%.
So what you're saying here is that we have these uneducated parents, and that is going to I see it too. We have the parent. I'll have the parents. I have bad teeth, so my kid has bad teeth.
Yep.
And yeah, part of that is true, but part of it's due to the misinformation and not having the education. So if you have a kid that is at school that's never been to your office, that service of going and taking your book there, and putting some activities with it and educating them, it's a huge service, even if that person, that child never steps in your office. You'd like
Yes.
them to. And I've noticed from when we do it, we do get quite a few patients each time, new patients that haven't been to the dentist before that come to our office. And it's a great resource. Back to the mission trips. People are probably thinking, well, you're a hygienist. What do you do on the mission trip? What's the most rewarding thing? What's
Oh
the
my
most rewarding
gosh.
experience that you have? It's
I could go on and on and on about these little kids. Like, some of the most rewarding things is having that opportunity to teach them and seeing the little smiles on their faces. One thing in Montana is, well, little patients come in, have never seen us, have these scrubs, masks, the whole thing. And so Crystal would say, hey, Carrie has this book. She wrote it. Why don't you go sit down and read with her? The little kids are crying, scared. They don't know what to expect. They're with their parents. So I take this little kid and sit him in the chair, and we start reading about sugar bugs. They just relax. They feel a little bit more comfort in the fact that we're not just jumping in their mouth, whatever. So once I started reading about the sugar bugs and they got to see what they kind of look like, by the time they were ready for their exam, they opened up and the hygienist was able to get in there and do the exam, no problem. So by taking that fear away, being a parent myself, that was super rewarding, because I don't want to see little kids coming in scared. And, it's a big deal for them. They're little. So they get to learn about sugar bugs. And then it's not such a scary thing for them. Once again, setting them up for success. So the next time they go in for an exam, they kind of know what to expect. They're looking for sugar bugs. They see what sugar bugs might look like. And then, it's just such a rewarding experience for me. That's one. The others are being able to, some of these kids are honestly up against a lot, and more than a lot of us even can imagine. And one thing that I love to do is when I give them a book to take home, they're the happiest little ones ever, because some of them have never received a gift ever in their life. So for them to feel loved and happy just makes me happy too. So that's another thing that what I love to see is being able to go in to the schools and gift them each a book, so they have something exciting to take home, and they just, they feel loved.
absolutely, it's amazing. Some of these kids might not even own a toothbrush too, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
them getting these things, and I was not aware that your book was such a impactful part of mission trips and school
Mhm.
visits, but it sounds like this is just another amazing tool for people to use to relate to kids, tell kids a story, help develop positive oral
Mhm.
hygiene habits at a young age when they may not have the opportunity. And I think that
Yes.
is amazing, what you're doing on these trips, and
Thank you.
it's definitely incredible and inspiring.
So
I
one
want
thing can I touch on one thing really quick that I learned
absolutely.
from Crystal in Montana, and something that I honestly never thought about, because when I graduated dental hygiene school, I went right into private practice. So I'm now being exposed to this world that I have, that's new to me, right? So one thing that I want to tell every single person in the dental industry that's working with, what, even adults too, but children, don't assume they have a toothbrush at home. So when you say, are you brushing your teeth? They might say yes, but they might not, because they don't even have a toothbrush at home. So the first question to ask every child would be, do you have a toothbrush at home? And then that gives them opportunity to say yes or no. And if they say no, then you can say, you know what, I'm going to get you one and I'm going to show you how to use it, because kids are very, they're sad about it if they don't have one at home, and they don't want to tell you that they don't have a toothbrush at home, because they're feeling a little shameful. So that is one thing that I learned that I will spread to every person I meet, because that can change the game in their life too. Because you're assuming they have a toothbrush, but they really don't. Then you're going to go off about something that they don't even have. So if you ask them that and they feel comfortable enough to tell you, no, I don't have one, then you can start the conversation about, here is a toothbrush and let me show you how to use it. And then it's a more positive experience for them. And it's not a, I don't want to tell her I don't have a toothbrush and I'm really scared and this, that, and the other. And then you're not helping them one bit. So always keep that in mind with every child. And it does not matter where you are and where you live and what area you're at, because there are children in high end areas that are still living in tough situations. So it's, treat every child that way.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And, I'm going to pick that up and use that at my office
Yes.
too, because it's about being socially aware too. There
Mm-hmm.
are lots of different things that we do in dentistry that you can be socially aware. And I think that's a great point, is to
Mm-hmm.
ask them if they have a toothbrush at home, so
Yep.
you're not setting them up to feel
Yes.
feel
Shamed,
shamed. Yes,
you know?
absolutely. And I think the same thing goes with some of our treatment plans and some of the newer modalities coming out, some of
Mm-hmm.
the minimally invasive stuff, and people wanting to avoid sedation and being
Mm-hmm.
socially aware. Maybe they had a relative that passed away under
Mm-hmm.
anesthesia, and if you're pushing that, and there's another way
Yes.
around it. So I think that is a outstanding point. And probably if listeners don't learn anything else from this, I know there's a lot of great
That
information, but that's probably
that's
the big
huge.
big take home.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you go on mission trips? It sounds like you've met a lot of different people.
Yes.
I saw you were just at your hygienist convention, and that's
Yeah, and
wonderful.
ADHA. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? It's been just through connections, honestly. I've just through I s- just meeting everybody in the dental industry and hearing need. And so if there's hygienists in the communities that are going places, I'm like, hey, how can I help? How can I team up to help the kids? When they do public health work, they have to do a portion of oral health education. So I'm like, hey, I'm right here. Yeah, I love working with the kids and I love reading my book to them. So when I have the opportunity to do that and they invite me out, if I can arrange it being a mom myself, I will go, because it's everywhere. I mean, kids everywhere in every city in every state need help. So I know I'm one person, but by me going to these areas, I can help educate other hygienists too on, maybe how to talk to the kids or things to help. So that's I wish I could do it every day, but unfortunately I can't.
Well, it sounds like you're already doing a lot, and a lot more than a lot of other people. So it's great to have
Thanks.
that inspiration. What else besides the education are these children receiving? Is there a dentist as well seeing them?
So the yes, for the most part. So it kind of depends on what they have set up. So the hygienists in the public health setting have different programs. So the one in Houston, they would come in and sit down in the carpet circle with me first, and we would talk about sugar bugs and all that kind of stuff, and then they would go get their exams, fluoride, all that kind of stuff. So there's different types of programs that they have set up to help the kids in any way that they can. And the cool part is, like we were talking about earlier, is when you're in the schools, that is the best place to be, because a lot of parents don't have access to a car to get their kids to a dental office. So that's the other thing that some of these kids are up against. They can't get to an office. So when these programs come into the schools, the kids are already in school. They were brought in by a bus. So that's what I think is so amazing too, is that they're really trying to get in to the schools where the kids really are, and then we can help make a difference and educate them while they're there.
Yeah, I think the whole point that you're kind of hitting back to is just being socially aware, and how
Mm-hmm.
can we uh, be given a gift of being able to make an
Yes.
impact on the oral health of
Yep.
people, give back, and do something we love,
Mm-hmm.
outside of our office. And I
And
think
it's
that,
so fun. It's so fun. Like, I mean, the little kids are so cute and the stuff they say, and you can't go wrong. And so what I've also tried to do is get, wherever I've gone, I've tried to get, you know, offices, dentists, things like that to sponsor the kids, because you feel like you're giving back to your community. So, you could do this in your school and say, okay, how many students we be talking to today? And then if you gift them each a book and they get to hold their own book while you're reading to them, it's fun for you and your team if you guys all went together. Or you take turns. One talks about brushing, one talks about flossing, one talks about nutrition. There's a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to their dental health.
Yeah, I think this I can see it, it provides an opportunity for emotional growth, leadership
Mm-hmm.
within your
Yep.
community, developing a perspective on how someone else might not be as fortunate or in the same
Yep.
zone that you are. And then it sounds
100%.
like you've made a lot of friends. And how do you feel when do you have do you feel like you have a new zest for life when you come back
It's
for?
100%. I have found my purpose. Honestly, I've been a hygienist for a long time. I worked in the dental industry since I was 18 years old, and I feel like I've been set up to for this moment. I am the happiest human alive because I get to help kids in more ways than one. A portion of the proceeds go back to kids fighting cancer. I've been able to work with cancer families and these kids and, educate them on their dental health, but also give them fun presents to cheer them up, as they're fighting for their lives. So I've seriously found my purpose in life, and so now I am on fire.
Well, that is awesome. I can definitely tell just, from talking to you. And earlier before we got on here today, we were talking a little bit about your book, Where the Sugar Bugs Live.
Mm.
And if you haven't bought it, like I said, you can go ahead and get that on Amazon today. It's for sale.
Yes.
How did you come to write a children's book? What got into your mind and how did you accomplish that?
So, like I said, I've been in the industry since I was 18. So I've always talked about sugar bugs. And then I worked in a few pediatric dental offices before I became a hygienist, and I absolutely loved it. And we talk about sugar bugs every single day. Where are the sugar bugs at? So, I had my sister had my nephew, and of course I was like on him since he was a baby. I'm like, we got to get in there and make sure he's good. But then I had my own kids, and my son would refuse to brush, and I was just like, oh, this is tough. And when I worked with parents in the offices, I never could understand why it was so difficult. I'm like, really, you can't get your kid to brush his teeth? Come on. Then becoming my a mom myself, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. So I said, that's it, I'm doing it. So I started, writing my manuscript, and I wanted to make it fun and, easy for the kids to understand with, fun, colorful illustrations. So basically, I became a mom and realized how hard it is to get them to
Yeah,
be compliant. And that was it for me. So,
yeah, we definitely have the same thing at our office. The parents bring in their little, 2-year-old and they say, well, he
yes,
won't let me. And,
yes,
it's an education thing. And we have pictures of brushing positions we show them. We had
yeah.
one that came back and he said, oh, that one that you showed, that just works great. I think she's going to have a great visit the next time and get up and do everything we want because of you showing us these things.
Yes.
Yeah,
When you
kids.
start talking, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that your book, everything just falls in line because kids, they love a story. They're imaginative,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing treatment, my assistants will just be like, "What are you talking about?" Because you're going down this road of this kid and their activities and telling them a story and making
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing feel imaginative in their mouth, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not thinking about the injection that I just gave and the high-speed
Yes.
handpiece that's going in
Yep.
their mouth. They're thinking about the story. So I
Yes.
love that you are into the story
Thank
writing
you.
and so what were you gonna say? Sorry, I
Oh,
interrupted you.
so that's the thing too, is once you give them something visually to think about with my own kids. So when we're brushing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just saw a green sugar bug in there, Dominic. He's like, Mommy, get it out. So once they've read the book and they know what sugar bugs look like, they don't want them in their mouths, right? So even my daughter, she's 2.5. She will be laying down and jump up and say, Mommy, we need to brush the sugar bugs out. So it's completely changed my life in a positive way because now I'm not nagging them to get into the bathroom. They don't want those sugar bugs in their mouths. And it's fun when we're brushing. I will make jokes about one just jumped out, like, oh my gosh, did you see that purple one that just jumped in the sink? And they're, it's opening up those conversations, but making it fun for them and giving them something to think about, like, oh my gosh, is there a blue one in there? And they want to brush it out. So it makes it fun for them and easier on the parents, honestly.
How did you go about so you wrote the book and then did you put together a storyboard and go to an illustrator? Did you draw the pictures yourself? Like to me it's amazing how I wouldn't even know where to start in
Yeah.
writing a children's book.
So the first thing you have to do is get your manuscript together. So I probably spent solid 6 months working on my manuscript, and I honestly started it as a story, like, and a lot of people don't know, but the two characters in the book are my kids, so Dominic and Mia. So I wanted them to be a part of my book. So I started as a story, and I'm like, no, I don't like that. It's boring, because I read to my kids every single night. So now that I get to see what they like and what really gets them giggly, and so then I started revamping it to where it is today. I wanted rhymes. My sister's a school teacher, so we used some sight words in there that they use in school. So that's basically what I did. So I started with the manuscript, then I submitted it to the publisher, waited forever, and they accepted it. And then we went through the process of, they did the illustrations on this book. So then we went back and forth with that as far as what my vision was, what I wanted them to look like. I was very picky. The publishers probably thought I was crazy because I wanted the teeth to look a certain way and the gums to look a certain way. And the bugs, I wanted the bugs to be a certain, color and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it all adds into the education that you're trying to provide and making it fun,
Mm-hmm.
and making it so it's not so much of a chore. And you said you were working on another book
I
here.
am.
What's this
Yes.
one about? If you can share, I don't know if it's
So I won't
proprietary.
share a ton, but it's going to, now that I've been in the public health world, I'm going to focus it more on teachers, hygienists, dentists, anybody going into the schools and reading to the kids. So a little bit more about Mirror Explorer, that, some of you guys are using intraoral cameras, things to prep them for them to understand that Mr. Tooth Checker is not a scary thing. It's okay. It's okay when you see that. The mirror is going to be looking for the sugar bugs, kind of more in depth a little bit. I'm illustrating all my own sugar bugs with the help of some of my little cancer fighting warriors, some of my kids, just making it mean a little even more than the last one. So just kind of the same concepts. It'll talk about sugar bugs, what, nutrition. I'm going to incorporate some nutrition in there, that things that are sticky, sugar bugs love that kind of stuff. So you need to make sure you brush it away, kind of thing. And I'm also going to have it available in Spanish, because I've learned a lot of littles, that they're not fully reading English yet. I still want them to be learning too. So that's one thing that I've learned so far in my journey, is that there's little ones that are coming in that don't, they don't read English or speak English. So I still want them to get help too.
Well, I'm excited to see all the new illustrations that the kids have helped
Yes.
with, and it's just awesome that you're working with those cancer patients who are.
Yes.
It's probably a highlight for them to have you come
Oh,
in and
they,
work with you to
yep.
illustrate these sugar bugs. So I'm sure we'll have some very creative and
Yes.
awesome new characters to add to your stories. So that's wonderful.
Yes.
I wanted to close here with, you gave one great tip already earlier, to ask if they have a toothbrush at home. And
Yes.
I wanted to see with, I think, hygienists and pediatric patients, I think there's just a perfect place for it, because I feel like the hygienists are just so passionate about
Yes.
prevention and oral health care. And having one that has worked with kids is like amazing. So, what are some
Mhm.
of the other tips besides the one that you give to help teach these kids how to improve their oral health?
So I think one of the biggest things is, and that I have learned, is that any child that you see, treat them with love and grace, because you do not know what's going on behind the scenes. So any patient that comes into your office, if they're having a tough day, they're tantruming, if they're grumpy, if they're throwing a fit, instead of just saying, oh, he's 3, he's whatever, kind of take a step back and let all of that go and just embrace the moment and try to bring as much positivity as you can to that moment in the operatory. Even I've spoken to a ton of school teachers, principals, vice principals, and the stories that I've heard, it just makes me realize that, some of these kids aren't tantruming just because they're stinkers. They might be starving, they might have a lot of, home life problems. So in our space in the dental office, we can show them as much love and grace as we can and make their that 1 hour, that 30 minutes, a good, fun, loving experience that they can take with them when they leave.
Absolutely. And one of the things I like to do is always, when the kid's leaving, find something positive that they
Yes,
did. Even if they're doing a lap to lap and they're a 3-year-old, they open their mouth really big for you. That is positive. Like,
that
always find
is.
something to come back to make them feel like something was accomplished. Because
Yes,
even if the kids, maybe you're giving an injection and they have a few tears and they're sitting still, that's something positive that you can
yes,
compliment them on as well. So I
yes.
love the idea of just welcoming them in. Are there any other
Mhm.
things that you find useful in educating little patients?
Visuals, obviously, that's huge. So I have, some stickers that I've been starting to do. I'm trying to work on sugar bug stickers to, for the kids. The kids love stickers. They love anything. Yeah, obviously you guys are giving out toys. That's a big plus, after they're done with their exams and stuff. But just fun, just have fun with them. Their imaginations run wild. So even if you ask them, have you ever seen a sugar bug before? And they're like, what? What is that? You can talk about summer blue, summer yellow, summer furry, just to create the fun with them so it's not such a scary experience. And always start with, do you own a toothbrush at home? Because that's a great place to start, regardless of where you live and what office you're working in.
Well, I appreciate all the tips and you coming out. I wasn't knowing what to expect when we were going to talk about a children's book, but I truly see your passion for working with kids and mission trips and helping out those
Hmm.
underserved. And I think that's incredible and remarkable that you're doing this amazing thing
Thank
for
you.
kids, not only in your own community, but around the
Hmm.
country. So again, thank you, Carrie, for coming on the show. I
Thank
look
you.
forward to reading your next book and seeing
Yes.
how it can help me improve, education when we go out and meet schools and
Yes.
libraries and things around the
Have
community in my
fun,
area.
have
We
fun
will.
with the kids, enjoy. And if anybody has questions, I'm on social media where the sugar bugs live. Don't hesitate to reach out. There's all different kinds of ways I've found to rally for the kids. So there's ideas that I could share with offices, on how you guys can set up, a school meeting or whatever. So I'm all about helping them and helping anybody who wants to help them. So,
I think that would be a great webinar topic to have you back to have Sprig do with you. I think that'd
oh,
be
that
an
would be awesome.
outstanding lecture to watch and see how you set up the program and how you get down and what parts your system. I mean, that's just something that's not taught in school, and there's no
Hmm.
resources for that. So I
Yes.
would love to see that. I'll put a sugar bug in their ear, not in their mouth, but to try to have you
Yeah.
back to do that as well.
Yeah, that
So
would be
I
really
also wanted
cool.
to add, I just started following you on Instagram. For our listeners out there, amazing. If you want to catch up with Carrie on Instagram, she's posting stuff. You see all the things she's doing with these kids with cancer. You get to see her illustrating the books. You get to see all these tips. Just
Hmm.
a fun page to follow. So
Thanks. Thank
definitely
you.
hop on social media and follow her. Thanks again for
Thank
coming
you
on the
so
show today.
much.
Thank you for listening to the Sprig podcast. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share on social media. If you have any questions or if you have a topic you would like to hear covered in a future episode, please email podcast@sprigusa.com.